Hi, I'm Billy. And welcome to Jack of Traits. This video is the continuation of our user access roles feature. In the first video of this feature, we implemented it by setting a static two-dimensional array to store our permissions information. And in the second video, we implemented another feature for our custom Livewire CRUD generator. This time, we will implement the user access role feature by creating another database table to store our user permissions. And we will use our Livewire CRUD generator command to create another CRUD for our users' permissions. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Since we already had the routes for our users and users' permissions, let's go ahead and create our user Livewire with our Livewire CRUD generator command. If we hadn't built our Livewire CRUD generator command, we would have been writing the same code repeatedly. So this really adds convenience to our part since we usually do CRUD to almost every feature. Let's make our Livewire user component appear here. At this point, we are just going to replace some data from our Livewire view component like so. There could be a much better approach than this by adding another database table for our user roles list. But for simplicity's sake, let's create a user role list inside our model since we only need 2 user roles at this point. And let's just simply loop through the user role list like so. For the user's CRUD feature, we don't really need to make a create method since the user register feature is handling the create feature for the users. We only created it so that we can easily update the role for each user. And thus, making it more straightforward. So the next thing that we wanted to do is add a user permissions Livewire component. And again, we are using our newly created Livewire CRUD generator command. Of course, we still need to edit our file a little bit to match our goals. We already captured our CRUD class file pattern, so it's now easier for us to build it. Before we do any updating, let's open up our user permissions model and add the fillable property. We needed this so that we can assign values to our columns every time we create or update records to our database using the Laravel Eloquent. And we also need to put the list of routes for the admin panel. Since it's unlikely for us to have millions of routes, it's okay to put them here explicitly. Let's make our Livewire user permissions component appear here. Now, let's add the public variables for our Livewire component. And now, let's add the validation rules for our Livewire component. Now, let's update load model command. This function will map the values we retrieve from the database. Let's update our user permissions form like so. Because of our workflow and our CRUD generator command, we got to a point where we don't necessarily write long code lines just to achieve the same task. Now, let's test our user permissions module. Awesome. Now that it's working, let's update our middleware for our user access roles feature. We need to leave the admin role to have default access to the user permissions just in case if all the record of the user permission table is gone. We will add a similar logic to our user access role middleware. Let's go to our model, user permission class file, and add a function called isRole has right to access. In this function, we will receive two parameters, the user role and the route name. Inside, we are just going to query the specific record with an equal value of role and route name. If it gets a record, it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. And now, we will add this function as another logic for our condition. As you can see, every time we delete a record that is associated with the permission rights of the admin, we automatically can't access a specific page to our admin panel, and that is how we can simply add a user role permission to our application. There are still other techniques that are much more efficient than this. The one that we presented here today is just one of the most straightforward solutions in implementing a user access roles permission feature to our web application. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, comment, share, and subscribe if you're new to this channel. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll get notified whenever a new video is up. Stay tuned, and see you in the next video.